So to check your organization and your transitions, I actually recommend looking at the unity and coherence exercises that we looked at in lesson 6. Okay, I can show you real quick where to find that. If you come back to lesson 6 in the sidebar and then come down, it's this here, unity and coherence. So it gives you several different tests for unity and coherence, but I'm just going to focus on 2D right here, and I've actually added on a step myself. So what it asks you to do to check for organization is first to highlight the paper's thesis statement. So let's go ahead and go through this exercise with one of our papers. I'm going to slide that over here. Let's look at it with unemployment dependency. This is a paper that we briefly reviewed in critical thinking paper, but that we can totally check for unity and coherence. So what is the thesis here? If we read the first paragraph, let's see if we can find it and highlight it. We have an epidemic in this country. Over half of the population is collecting some form of government benefits. If the government cut the amount of time people can collect unemployment, more people would have jobs. When people's benefits are cut or limited, they become more determined to find a job. As long as people are collecting unemployment, they will continue to sit at home and play video games. Okay. The problem is, I actually am having a hard time picking out the specific thesis statement of this first paragraph. What about you? As I look over it, I think that the author's main point is that we should cut the amount of time people can collect unemployment in order to increase employment in general. I think that's the thesis statement, but he restates it in a couple of different ways, and that kind of confuses me. So by step 1, I already know something. I know my thesis statement isn't as clear as I thought it was. To make your thesis statement super clear, try to make it a firm statement at the end of your paragraph. So what I would do is phrase it as a command instead of saying if this or when this or as long as this, to say the government should cut the amount of time people can collect unemployment so that everyone can have more jobs. Okay, that's a statement. That's not a question or a hypothesis. It's a statement. And I think that would make a stronger thesis. So let's go with that for now. I basically just restated that sentence to make it stronger. So now we've got our thesis. We've even made it a little stronger. Now we need to find the key point of each paragraph. Now, if you're having trouble doing this, which is common when you're the one who wrote the paper, sometimes it's easy to miss what your main point is or to just follow your own thought process instead of what's actually written on the page. So what you can do is actually go through the paragraphs backwards, basically to start with the paragraph before your conclusion and say, what's my main point in this paragraph? And then move to the next one in this paragraph, and that can help your brain to look through it as a separate piece of writing instead of looking through what you think you wrote, if that makes sense. It's easier to catch mistakes. So, but since we didn't write this paper, we'll go through it from the first paragraph. So let's see what the main point is. In the state of California, people can collect up to $11.25 an hour on unemployment for 99 weeks. They need to limit the amount of weeks people can collect unemployment to a few weeks based on what that person's previous job was. The hourly amount should be changed based on what the person's past 6 months of expenses were, and it should be decreased every month. Okay, what was the main point there? Again, I'm having a hard time pinpointing it. I'm getting some general ideas, and I feel like it's focused, but I can't just say, oh, it's focusing on this. That's easy. That means it does not have a clear topic sentence, okay? So we need to find that key point and then write down a keyword or phrase for that main point, okay? So looking at this, I would say his main point is, I'd say there might be several main points. Maybe the first one is that people are collecting too much on unemployment and don't have incentive to go find work. But then maybe another main point would be that we should focus things on what the person's previous job was, or based on the past 6 months of expenses. But that seems like an entirely different subject to me, so maybe that should go in a different paragraph. Well, at any rate, let's write down a key word or phrase for the main points. So first of all, how can we sum up this main point that we were talking about? Let's call it people do not have an incentive to look for work. That's kind of a long phrase, but that's okay, as long as we make it clear and we come back to that point. I'm not even sure how to sum up. Oops, I did the wrong color. I meant it to match the point we were just looking at. There we go. I'm not really sure how to sum this one up, and I feel like he addresses it later on, so maybe for now we'll just gray this part out and come back to it later, because I'm not sure how it pertains. Okay, now we found the main point. We wrote down a keyword or phrase. Does this support the focus of our essay or the thesis? Does it support the thesis? People do not have an incentive to look for work. The government should cut the amount of time people can collect unemployment so everyone can have more jobs. Yeah, I would say that's connected to the thesis. I'd say that's a good main point for the thesis. Good. Okay, now the 6th point that I added, write a topic sentence that explains the key idea your paragraph focuses on. So let's write a topic sentence for this paragraph, because right now it doesn't have one. It jumps straight into evidence, straight into this unemployment fact of California, but we need that transition first. We need that topic sentence. So let's use this phrase to create our topic sentence. That's why we wrote it. And make sure it ties back to the thesis. The government should cut the amount of time. Okay, well, let's just say, if the government cut, nope, I'm not liking that. Let's think. Let's make this work. All right, that was tricky. I had to pause to think through it, but I figured it out. Well, I just connected it to the thesis. That's all I did. I added this part. Because the government does not limit the amount of unemployment a person can collect, did you notice that was just a rephrase of the thesis? The thesis says government should cut the amount of time people can collect unemployment. So I just turned it around and said, because we're not doing my thesis, look at this problem. People do not have an incentive to look for work. And that's my topic sentence. This should be the first sentence of my paragraph. So if that's the first sentence of my paragraph, and then we say, in the state of California, people can collect up to $11.25 an hour on unemployment for 99 weeks. Now that piece of evidence is super relevant. You're like, oh my goodness, you're right. If they can collect that much for an unlimited amount of time, they wouldn't have any incentive to look for work. And you can go on and explain that. Let's just get rid of that piece right now. And we could say, when people are able to earn more on unemployment, nope, that strays to a different point, are able to earn so much from unemployment for an undefined amount of time, why would they look for employment? This is leading many states to higher percentages of unemployment. I would have to cite a fact to back that up. But do you see how now I can expand on this point? I can just focus on how not limiting the amount of unemployment a person can collect causes them to not look for work, and I can support that. And then maybe move these ideas to a different section. Phew. Okay, so there was that topic sentence. And if we wanted to, once we get this piece of the topic sentence, we can do that thing we looked at in this, and put our main reason from this topic sentence up here in the thesis. We can list that main reason so that the reader knows exactly what we're looking at. So that might look like, the government should cut the amount of time people can collect on unemployment so that, oops, whoo, sorry, sometimes Mac shortcuts can get you in trouble. Should cut the amount of time people can collect in unemployment so that people have an incentive to look for work. And then I'll list the other points after that. But do you see how I can just slip that topic sentence point up there? So let's just go back and review what we did up here. We made a strong thesis at the end of the paragraph that clearly stated, instead of questioned or hypothesized, what we believed should happen, without using the I pronoun though. And then we went through this paragraph, we found the main points, split them up so that they made sense, so that we're focusing on only one point per paragraph, and we wrote a topic sentence for it that tied back to the thesis by saying, because government does not limit the amount of unemployment a person can collect, people do not have an incentive to look for work. Ties back, gives our main point, and then we flesh it out. So I hope this helps. This is something that you should do in your own paper as you revise. Go find your thesis statement. Go find your key points and say, are my key points easy to find or not? Do I have this topic sentence that explains the key point? And if you don't, make one up. And feel free to then stick that point into your thesis so that your reader can clearly see where you're at in your thesis. All right, I hope that helps you revise. Again, feel free to use me or the Writing Center to review your work. We really want to help. We know this is a bigger paper, so feel free to come. And I look forward to seeing your work.